Hello students, in this lecture we are going to study about Gauss law. But before studying it, let us just recollect what we have studied about electric flux. Electric flux was the number of field lines passing normally through a unit area of cross section. So suppose if we are having a uniform electric field like this, and this is the unit area of cross section. If this area is placed normally to the electric field, then the number of field lines which are passing through this area is known as electric flux. The formula also we have obtained for electric flux, it was like this: flux is equals to E dot delta S. The summation of delta S used to give us total area, and if I write summation of delta S as capital A, then and apply the formula of dot product, then I am going to get the formula of flux like this. Flux is equals to EA cos theta, where theta was the angle between the direction of electric field and the area vector. Now what was the area vector? Area vector was a vector which was perpendicular to the area. So suppose if this sheet is our area, then this is our area vector which will always be perpendicular to this area. So now we'll calculate flux in all these cases one by one. So suppose we consider the first case. In the first case you can see that the area is kept perpendicular to the electric field. So now we'll see here, this is our electric field, and if I keep the area perpendicular to the electric field, just see the area vector. This area vector becomes parallel to the electric field. Just see in the figure, this green portion represents the area and this red vector delta S represents the area vector. So if I substitute the value of this theta, which was the angle between the area and the area vector, in the formula of flux, then what I obtain is this: flux is equals to E dot A, that is EA cos theta, and you know the value of theta was 0. And what is the value of cos 0? It is 1. So flux will be E into A. Now second case. In this case, just see what they have done. They have made the area parallel to the electric field. So here you can see, if this is our electric field, initially our area was like this. Now we are just turning this area like this. So now area is parallel to the electric field, but what is happening to the area vector? The area vector is becoming perpendicular to the electric field. Just see here, this is the area and this is the area vector. So the angle between electric field and area vector becomes 90. And if you substitute the value of theta, then you are going to obtain flux is equals to 0, as cos 90 is 0. Then in this case, the area is kept like this. So now just see the angle between the electric field and the area vector. The direction of electric field is this way and the direction of area vector is this way. So you can see that the angle between the area vector and the electric field is 180. So if you substitute the value of theta as 180, then cos theta is equals to minus 1. So in this case, the flux is minus E into A. And in this figure, the area is making some angle theta with the electric field. So that can be shown like this. If the area is somewhat like this, then you can see area is also making some angle theta with electric field. Then this area vector is also inclined with the electric field, just in the figure. So depending on the value of theta, we are going to obtain the value of flux. Now all these surfaces are flat surfaces, and we have already studied this. You can see that the values of flux are ranging from positive to negative. For the values of theta between 0 to 90, flux is remaining positive. And for the value of theta ranging from 90 to 180, the flux becomes negative. Just see, how the flux reduces as you move from this to this. This figure was like this. So you can see that the maximum number of field lines are passing through this area. Now if I start rotating this slowly, then you can see the field lines are coming out. Now this field line is not passing through this area. This lower field lines are also not passing through this area. So flux is reducing slowly. And if you move the area completely like this, now no field line is passing through this area. So this is the second figure. Then if I'm rotating this area in other direction, then slowly flux starts becoming negative, and if I completely rotate the area like this, then flux becomes minus E dot A, as we have already seen. So now all these surfaces were flat surfaces, and for them we have calculated flux. But now suppose if we are having a curved surface, then what we are going to do? Suppose if the surface is curved like this, then again this was our electric field, and if I want to calculate flux, then at different points on the curved surface the value of flux will be different. How? So we'll see what we'll do. We'll divide this whole curved surface into small elements, and separately we are going to calculate fluxes. So suppose if we are considering this small area element, then the area vector is going to be perpendicular to the area, and this is the direction of electric field. So here you can see that the theta angle between electric field and the area vector is 90. Suppose if you consider this area, then for this area the area vector is in this direction, which is along the direction of electric field. So here theta is going to be 0. And if you see this portion, this area element, then the area vector is perpendicular to the area element, and this is the direction of electric field. So angle between the area vector and the electric field is theta. So everywhere the flux is going to be different, and so you cannot calculate flux like this in case of a curved surface. You have to divide the curved surface into small area elements. Separately you will be calculating flux for all the small surfaces, and then to obtain the total flux you are going to add all the small fluxes which you have obtained throughout the region. So this way you can substitute the value of, suppose here I am calculating flux 1. So according to the formula, this one, E dot A, I can write E dot delta S1. Delta S1 is the area vector of this area element. Delta S2 is the area vector of this area element, and same way delta S3 is the area vector of this area element. We can have many area elements like this, and so on we can write the formula. And at the end, if I want total flux, what I'll be doing, I'll be taking summation over this equation. So I'll get equation like this. And if the delta S, if this area element is very small, so if delta S tends to 0, then this summation can be converted into integration, and instead of delta S we'll be writing ds. So this was our final formula of flux. Flux is equals to integration E dot ds. Now in all these cases, whether we have seen the flat surfaces or the curved surface, all the surfaces are open surfaces, and we were calculating flux for them. But suppose if we are having closed surface, then how will we calculate flux? So now suppose we are having closed surfaces. This also will divide into two parts. Here first part, our closed surface is having some charge enclosed within, and in second case we'll see that there will be no charge enclosed in our closed surface. So first we'll see this. Suppose if a charge, positive charge Q, is enclosed in a closed surface, then the formula of flux is, as you know, it is EA cos theta. If I substitute the value of theta for all the portions, you can see here the direction of electric field and the area vector is going to be different for all the surfaces. So as we have studied here, we'll be dividing whole region into small area elements, and then we are going to add all the small delta phi, and we are going to obtain the total flux, and the total flux is going to be positive. Here I have calculated only for this region. This is the direction of electric field, and the area vector here for this surface is also going to be in same direction. So value of theta is going to be 0 for this portion. But you remember in short that suppose if we are having a closed surface, and if a positive charge is enclosed within the closed surface, then the flux is going to be positive. Now suppose if there is a negative charge enclosed, then our flux is going to be negative. From this surface you can see that this is the direction of electric field, and if I draw area vector for this, then the area vector is going to be in this direction. Remember, for closed surfaces, area vectors will always be normally outwards. Always outwards, normally outwards. So for this portion if I calculate, then I'm going to get cos 180, and you know cos 180 is -1. So if you calculate for all the surfaces and if you add all the small delta phi, then the total flux you are going to obtain will be negative. So just remember one thing, whenever there is a positive charge enclosed in the closed surface, then the flux is going to be positive, and if negative charge is enclosed within the closed surface, then flux is going to be negative. So these two were the cases where charge was enclosed in the surface. Now other cases we'll see where the net charge enclosed in the closed surface is 0. Now just see this case. Here we are having a positive charge, but this charge is outside of this closed surface. Now just remember, what was the definition of flux? It was the number of field lines passing through a surface normally. Now just see here, these two field lines are passing through this surface. They are entering the surface, and the same two field lines are leaving this surface. So the resultant field lines passing through surface is going to be 0. We can write it like this, that the number of field lines passing inwards is equal to the number of field lines passing outwards, and number of field lines was flux. So the flux entering the closed surface is equal to the flux leaving the closed surface. So the total flux becomes here 0. Now just see in this case, this is our closed surface, and in this closed surface we are having two charges like this, plus q and minus q. Now just remember, what is this? They are having same magnitude but opposite polarity. So this is a dipole. You all know that the net charge of the dipole is 0. So what we can say, that the total charge, if I add plus q and minus q, it is going to give me 0. So the total charge enclosed in the closed surface is 0. And if there is no charge enclosed in the closed surface, then this will become similar to like this. There is no charge only within the closed surface. So if there is no charge, then what about the flux lines? It is going to be 0, and therefore we can say the flux is equals to 0. Because of this positive charge, the field lines will be coming outwards, and because of this negative charge, the field lines will be moving inwards. So all the field lines which are moving inwards, same number of field lines will be moving outwards. So same condition. So if net charge enclosed in the closed surface is 0, then the flux is going to be 0. Now we'll see this case. Here what happens? Again see, this was a dipole. Same way, we are having a dipole inside the closed surface. So here flux because of this dipole is going to be 0. Now just consider this charge outside. So this becomes case similar to this. We are having a charge over here, but the field lines, number of field lines entering the surface will be equal to number of field lines leaving the surface. So again this condition. And if you are having another charge like this 3q over here, then again I can draw electric field lines. This is positive, so the field lines will be radially outwards. And again same condition, the number of field lines entering will be equal to the number of field lines leaving the surface. So again same, the total flux passing through the surface is also going to be 0. So this was the case for closed surfaces. We were calculating flux passing through closed surfaces. Here no charge was enclosed, so flux was 0, and here charge was enclosed. This is the formula for flux. But suppose if I want to obtain the value of this flux, then I have to substitute the values here, and when I substitute the values in this equation, then what I obtain is known as Gauss law. Okay, so now we'll see Gauss law. As we discussed just now, that suppose if we calculate flux through a closed surface, then we can obtain Gauss law. So suppose this is our closed surface and I need to calculate flux passing through this closed surface. This surface is having a charge q enclosed within it, and radius of this surface is small r, and this is a spherical surface. We know that when we have to calculate flux through a curved surface, then we need to divide all the small area elements. So suppose if this is one such area element, then we'll calculate flux passing through this area element. So it will be known as delta phi, and our formula was E dot delta S. Here we have substituted the value of electric field. You know that suppose at this point we need to calculate the electric field due to this charge, then we have studied the formula kq upon r square. So this is k 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is k, q is our charge, upon r square. R square is the distance of the point where we need to calculate electric field from the source charge. This was our source charge. So this distance is r. So we have used this formula. E is equals to kq upon r square. So this is our formula. And now as this is vector form, so we need to write here the direction of the electric field also. As you can see in the figure, this is a positive charge, so its electric field will be radially outwards. So this is along the radius. So we have drawn a unit vector along the direction of radius and we have named it r cap. So this r cap is a unit vector along the direction of electric field. This dot as it is, and then we have written delta S. What is the delta S? Delta S is the area vector of the small area element, and it is again radially outwards. You can say it is normally outwards. This was a sphere, a charge enclosed within it. This is the small area element and this is its area vector, which is normally outwards. So the direction of the electric field and area vector is same. So angle between electric field and area vector is going to be 0. So we can solve this. This r cap was the direction of electric field. So if I solve it, this is r cap dot delta S. So it will give me mod of r cap into mod of delta S into cos theta, where theta will be the angle between these two vectors. R cap was in this direction and delta S is also in the same direction, so theta 0. So if I substitute all the values, mod of r is 1 as it is a unit vector, mod of delta S, so I have removed the vector sign from here, and cos 0 as theta was 0 and cos 0 is equals to 1. So my final answer of this is delta S. So now instead of this, I will be writing here delta S, and this was the formula of electric field. So this is our delta phi. This is the flux passing through this small area element, but I want the flux passing through whole sphere. So now what I need to do, I need to add all such small fluxes passing through all small area elements. So we'll take summation of all delta S. So I'll get total flux. Now I'll substitute the value of this delta phi, and while substituting the value, I have taken this quantity out of summation, as this whole quantity you can see it is constant. This q is constant, r is the radius, it is also going to remain constant, and 4 pi epsilon naught is already a constant. So this whole quantity is constant, so I have taken it outside summation. Now if I take summation of delta S, then we'll get the total area of the sphere, and suppose if I'm calling it as S, then what is the total area of the sphere? It is 4 pi r square. This value I wrote as it is, and now just see this 4 pi r square will get cancelled, so we will be left with flux is equals to q upon epsilon naught. This is known as Gauss law. From this we will be writing the statement of Gauss law like this: electric flux through a closed surface S is equal to ratio of net charge to epsilon naught. So this is the statement and this is the mathematical form. We also can write this Gauss law in this way also, as we know that flux is summation of E dot delta S, and flux is equals to now q upon epsilon naught. So all the equations in one. So flux is equals to summation of E dot delta S, and flux is also equal to net charge upon epsilon naught. This is the total charge enclosed within the closed surface. And if this delta S tends to 0, I can write, instead of this summation, integration, and instead of delta S, ds. You can see this circle over here. This is known as surface integral, and instead of this summation of q, we are writing here total charge, capital Q. Now from Gauss law, if you see this equation, what will happen if this q becomes 0? This q is the charge enclosed within the closed surface. If this becomes 0, then what happens to flux? Flux also is going to become 0 only. We have seen this case. Just see here, no charge is enclosed in all of these three surfaces. So net q is equals to 0. So what is happening to flux? Flux is becoming 0 in all these three cases. So this we have obtained from Gauss law also. So this we were knowing already. Now just see this, the final equation. In the final equation of Gauss law, the area is not there. What does it mean? That this flux is independent of the shape of the surface which we are using, shape or size or whatever. How we can prove this? Just see. Suppose if this is a charge, positive charge, and around this positive charge, suppose if I am having a spherical surface and I need to calculate flux passing through this spherical surface. So what I'll do, I'll start counting the number of field lines passing through this spherical surface. Actually we can draw plenty of field lines, but we are drawing only few field lines for simplicity. So if I count, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 field lines are passing through this spherical surface. So my flux is going to become 8. Number of field lines is suppose 8. Now just see, instead of this spherical surface, if I draw a cube over here, then what will happen? Again, same number of field lines are passing. So again, flux is same. Instead of this cube, suppose if I am drawing a cylinder. Okay. Again count the number of field lines passing through the cylinder. It is again same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So from this formula, the flux will always be Q upon epsilon naught. The value of flux does not depend on the surface. It does not depend on the shape or on the size of the surface. I can take any shape of the surface and the flux is going to be Q upon epsilon naught. It is going to be same. Now we'll see few important points which we can conclude from Gauss law. This is our basic equation of Gauss law. Just see the first point. Gauss law is valid for closed surface of any shape or size, which we have already seen. Then the term Q in the Gauss law, that is this term Q in the Gauss law, is summation of all the charges which are enclosed in the surface. See, suppose if this is our closed surface, then Q1 and Q2 are enclosed in the surface. So here summation of Q is Q1 and Q2. This Q3 and Q4 are not included in this. Whereas if here you see the electric field, then this electric field will be the electric field due to all these charges, whether they are inside the surface or they are outside the surface. How we can prove that? Just see. This was our surface and we are using this formula. So we'll calculate flux due to all these different charges. So first we'll be calculating flux due to Q1. So from this formula, summation of E dot delta S. We'll write here E1 because we are calculating flux due to Q1. So I'm writing here E1 is equals to not summation, we are having just calculating because of Q1. So this is Q1 upon epsilon naught. Now suppose I'm calculating flux due to Q2. So it will be summation of E2 delta S is equals to Q2 upon epsilon naught. Now because of Q3 and Q4. So because of Q3, the electric field will be E3. Okay. It will be Q3 by epsilon naught, and because of Q4, the formula will become like this. Okay. Now from this formula, here whatever flux I'll obtain, it will be known as phi 1. So this Q1 charge is enclosed within the surface, and we have studied whenever the charge is enclosed in the surface, we are going to obtain flux. So that flux is known as, suppose, phi 1. Because of Q2, whatever flux we obtain is known as phi 2. Because of Q3, are we going to obtain any flux through this surface? No. See, the field lines, number of field lines entering the surface will be leaving the surface. As this Q3 charge is outside the surface, outside our closed surface, this is not going to contribute in the flux. So because of Q3, there won't be any flux passing through this surface. So our flux phi 3 is going to be 0. Same way Q4 is also outside this surface. So the flux phi 4 is also going to be 0. Now suppose if I am adding all these terms, then I'll get summation of all E1, E2, E3 and E4, that is, suppose the resultant electric field into delta S is equals to, now I will be adding all these terms. So what is Q1 upon epsilon naught? That was phi 1. So I'll write Q1 upon epsilon naught. Q2 upon epsilon naught, that was phi 2. So I'll add Q2 upon epsilon naught. Now Q3 upon epsilon naught, that was phi 3, but what is its value? It was 0. Same way, Q4 upon epsilon naught, that is also 0. So here I'll get Q1 plus Q2 upon epsilon naught. So we have proved this point that here the charge will be the total charge enclosed within the surface. See, only Q1 and Q2 are remaining here, and the electric field is because of all the charges. Here we have added all E1, E2, E3 and E4. So this was our these two points, that the term Q is the total charge enclosed and the term E in the Gauss law is the total electric field because of all the charges, whether they are inside or whether they are outside. Now calculation of electric field by using Gauss law is very easy when the system has some symmetry. Why we are studying Gauss law? To calculate electric field due to different charged systems. This is the main point why we are studying Gauss law. So the application of Gauss law becomes very easy when our system is having some symmetry, when our closed surface is somewhat geometric. Why like that? Because when we'll apply Gauss law, we are going to apply this equation, and in this equation, see, we are having summation delta S. Summation delta S is what? Total area. So if the area will be geometric, then you will be knowing the formula of the area. If it is a shape like this, then instead of summation of delta S, what area you are going to substitute. So the application of Gauss law becomes very easy if the system is having some symmetry. Then Gauss law is based on inverse square law, and for the application of Gauss law, we select a Gaussian surface, which is a hypothetical surface. You will be understanding Gaussian surface when we'll study the applications of Gauss law. So we are not discussing this point over here. We'll discuss it when we'll study the applications of Gauss law. From Gauss law, we can conclude that if flux passing through a surface is 0, then there won't be any charge enclosed in the surface. See, we have seen in all these cases, when there was no charge enclosed in the surface, no net charge enclosed in the surface, then the flux was 0. So either you can say that when there is no charge enclosed in the surface, then flux is equals to 0 passing through the surface, or else you can say that when there is no flux passing through the closed surface, then we can say that there is no charge enclosed in the closed surface. So now we'll study that. So we'll keep a cylindrical surface in a uniform electric field. So this is the direction of electric field, and this is our cylindrical surface, and there is no charge enclosed in this body, as you can see. So we'll calculate the total flux passing through the surface. Now just see here, we'll calculate flux in 3 different portions, one here, then here, and then here. So first, if I consider this, then you can see this area is like this. So the area vector will be like this, perpendicular. So this is the direction of the area vector, and this is the direction of electric field. So the angle between area vector and the electric field is 180. If I calculate flux for this, then it is going to be phi 1. So E dot S1, so it will give me E S1 cos 180. 180 cos 180 is equals to minus 1. So when I substitute it over here, I'll get flux is equals to minus E into S1. S1 was this area. Now suppose if I calculate flux for this portion, then again this surface is like this, and area vector will be in this direction. So now see, both area vector and the electric field, they are in same direction. So here theta is equals to 0. So you can calculate flux cos 0 is equals to 1. So you will obtain flux as ES2. Now this portion, the curved portion of the cylinder. Here, suppose if I consider this small area element, then this will be the area vector S3 and the direction of electric field is this. So the angle between area vector and the electric field is now 90. So for this I calculate flux 3, and as cos 90 is 0, I am going to get flux as 0. Now I'll calculate total flux. Total flux was adding all these fluxes. So I'll substitute all the values of phi1, phi2 and phi3 in this equation, and what I obtain is, see, this is flux is equals to, this is the value of phi1, this is phi2 and this is phi3. If I add them, I'm going to get 0. So as we expected, here no charge was enclosed and the total flux which we are obtaining is 0. So we can say that when there is no charge enclosed in a closed body, then the flux passing through the closed body is going to be 0. Or else we can say that when the flux passing through the closed body is 0, then there won't be any charge enclosed in the body. How we'll prove that? So we have this equation of Gauss law. So from that we have flux is equals to net charge divided by epsilon naught. So from here we'll substitute the value of flux over here, that is 0. So instead of flux I'm writing 0 and this as it is. Now I want to calculate how much charge is enclosed within the closed surface. So I'll make Q subject of equation. Then this epsilon naught will go in this side and I'm going to obtain Q is equals to 0. Hence we have proved it in both the ways that if there is no flux passing through the closed surface, then there won't be any charge in the closed surface, or else you can say that when there is no charge enclosed in the closed surface, then the flux passing through the closed surface is going to be 0.